that there needs to be a considerable change, and that we cannot continue as we are. If we do not have a firm and positive plan for the future, then we are in real danger of our parishes becoming stagnant, with little more than an ever-decreasing celebration of the sacraments. If there is no clear plan for consolidation and restructuring, then we will be doing ourselves a great disservice, and over time many of the present parishes will simply cease to function, as priests retire from ministry and cannot be replaced. This would be in clear opposition to the urgent invitation of Pope Francis to create and energise missionary parishes for a changing church in a changing world. I have no doubt that there is both the energy and the resources among the people of this diocese to build missionary parishes, which will speak loudly and clearly of our gospel values to society in which we live, and sustain and encourage people in their faith. This restructuring cannot be a simple return to the use of the oldest churches and the earliest created parishes of our diocese. In each generation, people move, and some of our oldest churches are situated in town centres which have become depopulated as the towns have grown and developed, and now new residential suburbs now house the large majority of our population. It is certainly true that some people will have to travel further to their parish churches and integrate into communities that will be new to them. Perhaps a short description of a parish I visited with CAFOD during the summer might help us all to keep our own difficulties in perspective. I met Father Paul at his parish in Zimbabwe, where he is the only priest. He took us into his spotlessly clean church and stood there by 3 large picture frames, each containing 15 photographs of different chapels. These are his 45 mission stations spread throughout his single parish, a parish as large as the whole of the Diocese of Salford. Some of the chapels were sturdy brick buildings, others simpler, with mud walls and thatched roofs. Given the distances, he can only manage to visit some of the more remote chapels every few months. But they thrive on the generosity of the community members who keep the places in good repair, and the people meet regularly for prayer and celebration. For some people, the journey, even to their nearest mission station, requires a walk of several hours. Many of our mission parishes will be no more than 2 or 3 miles apart, and even in 2020 we are likely to have some 108 priests under 75 to serve a similar area to the parish described above, where there is a single priest. There can be no question that we are facing a shortage of priests. Together with Poland and Malta, we have the greatest ratio of priests to Catholic population in the world. At present, we have 1 priest for every 1,884 Catholics, and by 2020 we are likely to have 1 priest for every 2,620. We are facing the challenge of adjusting to have less priests than before, but in the eyes of the rest of the world it is certainly not a shortage. Bearing all this need for change in mind, let us return to the consultation. Governance of the diocese. The consultation questionnaire asked, do you agree with the suggestion that we should appoint some lay diocesan trustees? 93.8% said that we should appoint lay trustees. I find that very encouraging and reassuring. In terms of canon law, Salford is a particular church, and we need always to have the first priority of preaching the gospel and living the values of the gospel as best we can. However, there is an important aspect of the Diocese of Salford Charitable Trust that must not be ignored. We must be aware of our responsibilities under charity law and civil law. We must manage our assets as best we can for the benefit of the mission of the Church. We must have expertise that will help us to develop the best of schools and institutions and be properly accountable for the responsibilities that we have. It seems to me to be very evident that we need lay expertise to assist us in the best management of the diocese and in compliance with the demands of the law. I shall be inviting lay people of diverse expertise to join the Board of Trustees before the end of this calendar year. The question: would you agree that we ought to establish a diocesan pastoral council? This also brought a resounding 96.5% approval. That speaks of a real sense of energy and willingness to share responsibility within the life of the diocese. There is no doubt that the laity, the vast majority of the members of the diocesan church, must have a voice with the priests and the religious of the diocese in discernment of the needs of the local church and the demands of the mission of the church. Almost as strong, 88.12%, was the approval of the suggestion that we should seek to establish a pastoral council in each of the 8 deaneries from which membership of the Diocesan Pastoral Council could be selected. That is also encouraging in the same sense that the Diocesan Pastoral Council should not be seen as a single body trying to connect every part of the diocese. Ideally, it could become something of a parent body, being informed by the experiences of the different deanery groups. It would seem best to begin with the creation of a diocesan pastoral council and then to consider a second step at deanery level. This will allow for a time of adjustment in the deaneries to any new configuration of parishes. The question of membership of these groups brought a degree of diverse opinion. How best could we determine the membership? Should there be a priest, a religious, a lay woman and a lay man from each deanery? Should there be a specific requirement to have a young person from each deanery? Various combinations of membership were suggested. Given the clear desire to have both a diocesan pastoral council and a deanery pastoral council, I have decided to create both. And as a first step towards doing so, to invite an independent layperson to consider the membership of such councils as they exist elsewhere and to make recommendations to me about a suitable composition of our own councils. The sacraments of initiation, age for confirmation. Some 25 years ago, a brave and somewhat controversial decision was made to return to an ancient practice of celebrating the sacraments of initiation in a particular order. Children were to be baptized in infancy and then be confirmed before their first communion, usually at the age of 7 years. In this way, the reception of communion was seen to be the completion of the sacraments of initiation. For this practice to be effective, it was recognised that a strong emphasis would need to be placed on the nurturing of faith within the family, so that the child would grow in his or her practice of understanding the faith through the example and the encouragement of the whole family. It was a noble intention, but experience shows that in all too many cases there has been little or no encouragement by parents, and many children confirmed at the age of 7 years of age may have no further regular experience of faith within a parish context, nor experience encouragement to grow in their faith at home. The Bishops' Conference of England and Wales has discussed the age of confirmation, and it is likely that the parameters of the celebration of the sacraments of confirmation will be between 10 and 18 years. The practice in the Diocese of Salford must therefore change. There has been, and continues to be, a great deal of conversation about setting a new preferred age for confirmation. 46.64% suggested the final year in primary school. 32.28% suggested 12 to 14. 11.34% suggested, and 3.74% would prefer confirmation during the sixth form years. Those who believe that children should be confirmed in the last year of primary school argue that the children then have a clearer sense of making a commitment in the faith than at the age of 7. They also benefit from the parish preparation for the sacrament, being strengthened by the catechesis in the Catholic primary schools, which most of our young candidates for confirmation attend. There are others who argue that confirmation might be more validly conferred at 14 or 15 years of age or later, when a young person is more likely to make a mature decision and recognise the obligations that are attached to such a commitment. These arguments are often countered by the belief that many young Catholics will have drifted away from any practice of their faith, and many will no longer be in Catholic schools. There are arguments too that there is too much social peer pressure at that age, which will prevent young people from electing to prepare for the sacrament. Pope Francis upholds the urgency of ensuring that our young people complete the sacraments of initiation, but he does not specify any particular order in which the sacraments need to be received, nor at any specific age. The argument that we should confirm primary school children before we lose them can be countered by the belief that we do nothing to value the sacrament by conferring on children in their final year at primary school if they will never appreciate or understand what they have received. The practice in other dioceses in England and Wales is mixed. My own experience has been to confirm young people between the ages of 14 and 15. I have experienced groups that have clearly benefited from more sophisticated preparation, which reflects their increasing maturity. But it has also been clear that many others who have received their first communion have drifted away and were not confirmed. There remain a number of open questions, but having heard and reflected on the responses to the consultation, the direction of travel is clear. We need to move to an older age, although at this stage I do not have a settled view as to what that age should be. My decision is, therefore, that we will need time to consider this matter further. I will be commissioning a small group of priests and people to investigate the resources being used elsewhere and to assist me in determining at what age we might deliver the best religious formation and how we may achieve a coherent and ongoing catechesis for the benefit of our young people. I believe that the quality of catechetical materials will be key in stimulating a growing commitment to faith in our young people. I will ask this commission to report within 12 months, so that even if it is determined that confirmation should be at the age of 10, there will be adequate time to circulate new catechetical materials and train the catechists in the parishes for our first group of 10-year-olds seeking confirmation in the year 2018. There is a small majority opinion, 53.36%, that would prefer the celebration of the sacrament of confirmation to be during the school's summer term. That would seem appropriate, though would not necessarily need to be a firm rule. It would mean that the preparation for the sacrament could begin in September with the start of the new academic year and be contained within one complete school year. I would hope that the bishop would be the ordinary minister of this sacrament, but that would mean drawing candidates together for more than one parish for some celebrations. There is also a time to consider the form of celebration and whether it be inserted into a liturgy of the word or during Mass. The sacraments of initiation, age for reconciliation and First Communion. 65.89% of responses indicated that First Reconciliation and First Communion be retained for children in Year 3. Of the 34.11% of those preferring change, there was no